Let's welcome our guests, the Dexalot co-founders. We've got Nihat Gurmen, we've got Cengiz Dincoglu. Guys, thank you so much for being here. The legends are in the house chat. These guys need no introduction. Welcome in.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello.
How are you guys doing?
How are you?
We meet again on another big day. How are you guys doing?
Great. And one correction, though. One correction, because it wasn't just us doing this time. It was the whole team, including Firestorm, who had a lot of input in this. So that's an important correction.
Like
the
this
very
one,
first versions, that was Nihat and I, obviously.
Right.
But the legends part was right. Don't have to correct that part, right?
He's the legend, actually. Let me do that correction. Legend.
You guys, we got living legends in the house right now, man.
Thanks.
We love to see it, man. We
are very excited to be here. Thanks, guys.
What a day, huh? Like,
yes.
Listen, this was actually, I was about to say some stuff that could jinx things, so I'm not going to say it. But in terms of how things went, other teams should look at how this is done, right? Again, knock on wood, but at least, we had a time, we had a date, and we kind of aligned to it, which I like a lot. Congratulations to you all. Congratulations to the team. Congratulations to me.
Yeah.
And honestly, congratulations for saying that, because I love that Firestorm would just go out and say, like, hey, man, you set a date for something. Let's stick to the date. You know what I mean?
That's
how
right.
it goes.
Yeah, that's
Anyways,
right.
Please continue. My bad.
A lot of our backgrounds are from Wall Street, and we are used to working on tight deadlines, and we are used to not to give deadlines that we can't keep.
Yep.
Because we're talking about really huge amounts of money, huge amounts of marketing, all these things that's going behind, like a JP Morgan, like. So we implemented the same culture in the company as well. I mean, just we don't promise something that we can't do, and when we do promise, we try to keep it. There's always things that can go wrong. Like last night, I was still doing a little bit of coding, bug fixing here and there, but we made it through.
Right.
I mean, that's the classic perpetual story of a real owner, right? Look, last second, there's always something that's going to come up.
Right.
We're blessed with you and the rest of our team who has the ability to handle those last minute pressure moments. And again, as planned, announcements, execution, release, knock on wood. I'm not going to say anything other than that, but it is now available to you all, dear audience, ladies and gentlemen. Go check it out. The announcement went out maybe a couple hours ago now. We've been capturing data for 2 hours. I have interesting insights, which I'm going to touch in a little while. But before that, I would say let's go ahead and kick off the conversation. It's not every day that we have Nihat and Cengiz in the house. I know everybody loves to hear from me and Jimmy, but sometimes it gets old. We acknowledge that. We understand that. So why don't we start with you guys, Nihat and Cengiz? You guys have been here a few times already. Before we go into our latest feature, SimpleSwap, can you remind the audience a little bit about, again, high level, our architecture? How is Dexalot created? What does it look like today, architecture-wise? And then we're going to go into SimpleSwap and we'll talk about why it matters.
Jamie, do you want to do that? I mean, you essentially the architecture, right?
Sure. I'll take this one. So originally we put our contracts and the application on the C chain, if you guys remember, if you've been around for a while. And the gas was an issue, and we knew that it was going to be an issue for CLOB Dex style. And our aim was to move to our subnet eventually, and that's what we did this year in February. And when we were doing that, we have a patented architecture, patent pending architecture. Basically, we are not bridging the tokens, but we are actually crediting the subnet contracts with the tokens that are deposited in the mainnet, and the mainnet, the tokens stays locked. So in a very high level architectural view, you deposit your money, and you trade in the subnet. So I guess this also, even though it is very novel and it's never seen before, it still has some disadvantages for the everyday user who would like to just quickly swap something and not to go through the hassle of depositing, waiting for the bridge message to go through to the subnet, and answering a limit order, whether they know or not what the limit order is. All these things, we knew that was a problem. So we started thinking about how to go about bringing in the C-chain volume seamlessly into our subnet. So I don't know if I should go into that detail, but I guess this is a good overview for now. I'm sure you're going to ask more questions.
No, absolutely. This is a great overview. Essentially, we have an Dexalot specific chain, and then you guys, the audience, have given us feedback saying, bro, you make me click so much. I'm used to the AMM one-click, click and forget stuff, right? We heard this. Lots of people complained about the initial way we did it. We kind of looked at bringing centralized exchange experience initially, but we did recognize pretty quickly, while we achieved that we also needed to cater to the DeFi users, degens, and whatnot. And today, we finally released what we called SimpleSwap. And as Cengiz said in his tweet, while it is intending to simplify your experience, what's under the covers is not simple. And it took, we got great engineers, and it took our engineers a little while to get it right with all the different pieces, right? So Nihat, I guess, why don't you give us a little bit about what SimpleSwap actually is and how people should think about it.
So I think I want to add a few things actually to what you and Cengiz outlined. Let's discuss the net effect of all of that great architecture. Right? So what did it achieve? Essentially, what it achieved was some healthy order books that can generate really good prices for all the pairs we are listing with great spreads. Right? So that's what it achieved, because it provided us cheap transactions, and with that we were able to onboard professional market makers that can deliver really tight spreads and good prices. So the next step was, and that environment was really good for advanced traders or everyday traders, right? That do a lot of interaction with the Dexalot exchange. However, it was a bit difficult, like Cengiz alluded to. It's for less experienced traders, right? So how do we get all of that great prices, great liquidity available to a bigger audience? So SimpleSwap, in a nutshell, answers that question pretty much, right? So how do we make the great features of Dexalot exchange on the subnet available to a bigger audience, which is existing on the C-chain, right? So that's what it is. It essentially it's allowing people to enter swap transactions. Currently, just one pair, AVAX USDC pair, but everybody by now probably knows that we are cautious bunch. We do things slowly. So we started with just one pair with essentially caution in mind all the time. And then we will over time add more and more pairs and make all the things that are available on the Dexalot order books to be available on the SimpleSwap interface. So with that one, when a user does a swap, there is no depositing to Dexalot subnet. There is nothing going through the bridge. From the user's perspective, they do their swap, and that enables them to get the outcome of that swap back into their wallet as they're used to in other DeFi applications. So that's what it does.
That's it.
So you can say the convenience of a single click with the prices of the stock.
Correct.
That's
So
exactly
that's the whole premise.
one atomic transaction that gives you the significantly better prices in the subnet. Now, I know that a lot of people don't write code. It's not easy to capture data from the subnet to look at prices and whatnot. I can tell you right now, it's been 2 hours since SimpleSwap launched. We've been looking at the price of SimpleSwap, and we've been looking at prices available elsewhere. And I'm not talking about competitors. Competitors are not even comparable because of the tech underlying their prices. I'm looking at aggregator prices right now, who sort of pull prices from all of our competitors. And we are winning the market in terms of prices at about 40% of the time on the bid side, and then 97.25% of the time on the ask side. What the hell did he just say, right? I don't need a 60-second speed run to do this. This means that there is a better price to buy on SimpleSwap than all of the alternatives available on Avalanche right now, 97% of the time. And there is a better price to sell on Dexalot, on Avax, 37.3% of the time. Now, remember what Nihat said. We just launched this thing.
Yeah.
Everything is configured to be pretty tight, pretty cautious. Liquidity is actually going to be increased without doing anything. We just need to sort of expand some of the risk parameters. We want to make sure the pipes and everything are good. Obviously, this has been tested heavily for months, but we kind of want to make sure that the launch goes smoothly. And this is basically the launch where we have 97% of the market on the ask side. If anybody disagrees and they have the data, bring it to me. Let's see, because I have the data. I will use one of these sessions to show this next time. And we've been looking at this for a long time. It's only going to get better from this. And I'm extremely excited. I can't tell you how excited I am. This is going to be awesome. Anyways,
Firestorm, you are brilliant today, man. You are living up to your name. I gotta give you a hair horn. That was hard, sir. That was
yeah.
Guys, when Firestorm says that, bring the data to me, believe him, because he's been hammering data, and Gökçe also, she's been hammering the data from different price sources.
I've been looking at charts and numbers and bids and asks for so long that my middle name has become the bid ask at this point, quite honestly.
Yeah.
But anyways, all right. So let's talk about some of the things that SimpleSwap brings. Can you, either of you, up to you guys, can you walk our users through the journey of the professional exchange side and then the journey of the SimpleSwap side? Let's really hammer it in. Let's really contextualize it for people to think about it. What does a user who has MetaMask or Core do if they want to trade?
I think that's an excellent question, really. I mean, because right now with the SimpleSwap, we have two distinct paths for two different types of users, if you will, right? So let's call the first user group as the experienced trader that does things often, wants to get the best prices at all times, and for that person or that group, probably the best route would be to go to the Dexalot and use the full exchange.
And limit orders, of course.
And limit orders. So, and that one, Cengiz, maybe you give the kind of walkthrough from MetaMask for an order for a user for the exchange, and then I'll take over for the
So yeah, just not the limit orders, but we have the IOCs orders. You can have some additional professionals like post only for market makers, IOCs, kill or kill, market and limit. So all these orders are available to you. But from a walkthrough perspective, you would have to, if you have MetaMask, you will have to deposit from the mainnet when you're connected to Avalanche C chain. And then about 20 seconds later, you will see in your front end that the balance reflects in the subnet. At that point on, if you want to continue to transact, like sending an order or withdraw the money, whichever you want to do, you will have to switch your network to the Dexalot subnet. So that's a little additional friction point. If you have the core wallet, you don't have to do that switch technically. So you can just continue transacting as if you were in a single chain environment. So you place your order, whatever wallet that you prefer, and if you are familiar with your limit orders and so forth, you will see that the order may not get executed. It may stay in the order book, and then we receive complaints sometimes like, hey, I entered my order, I don't see an execution, what's going on, and all these things. And our guys are like, okay, this is like central exchange like type of environment. So if you may not get executed if your price is lower than the market, right? So and let's say that you get executed, so you have your fill, and at this point you want to withdraw your money back to the C chain for whatever reasons you have, because you want to stake it, you want to do something else, and you initiate a withdrawal transaction while you're connected to the subnet, and 20 seconds later that reflects in your wallet on the C chain. So that is the high level walkthrough, and you will have to click, do an extra few clicks that again, like Firestone said, our users have been complaining about, especially if they want to only do one transaction, one sell and one buy. This is an overkill.
Yeah.
If you're a professional, if you want to constantly sending orders for different pairs and cross hedge this, that, yeah, that is not a big deal. But otherwise, yeah, this wasn't the ideal.
So just to summarize, right? For the professional route, deposit, settle, and then enter orders. You basically need these, and depending on which wallet you use after the deposit, you may need to switch to the subnet if you're using MetaMask. If you're using Core, good to go, right? Now, who would do this? This is for the folks who want to deploy a certain amount of capital, enter multiple layers in the market, or continuously take positions in one direction or the other. And why they would do it on Dexalot, because again, Dexalot has the best liquidity available. And we've actually been seeing a lot of our community users, obviously, as well as our market makers going this route, right? But we did, like Cengiz said, Nihat said, we did recognize that there is a contingent out there who would rather do 1 to 2 trades every so often, and they don't want to go through this hassle. So then, what is the journey of SimpleSwap like?
SimpleSwap replicates pretty much the regular DeFi AMM interface, where you have your assets in your core wallet or MetaMask wallet that you're keeping there, and then you interact with the swap interface directly from your wallet. You enter your trade, choosing either the sell or buy, switching the pairs, and then you enter your order, and then you interact with the SimpleSwap contract on the C chain. It is settled there, and then you directly get the resulting assets back to your wallet without ever touching the subnet, without needing to go through the bridge or anything like that. So this is a lot of convenience for occasional trader that doesn't have to go through the hassle of the bridging. But if someone like an advanced trader who wants to access the other types of trading options types, as well as a bit more finer control in terms of how to enter their orders, then they will choose to go to the trade. I'm thinking it's going to be an educational process. People likely will start with the SimpleSwap, and then over time educate themselves to take the full advantage of the trade interface as well. So there will be some transition there, I'm hoping.
Absolutely. And, the UX side has tremendously improved. One click, done, right? The big differentiator here is that the prices and the liquidity is going to come from the subnet, i.e. professional market makers who are most capital efficient. And just to, again, unpack that, on a alternative trading system like an AMM, you need lots of capital. Think hundreds of millions or billions of dollars to actually create a price that's tight across large sizes, versus a professional market maker will have a chunk of liquidity that they can continuously move up and down, right? In the AMMs, depending on the implementation, the liquidity gets distributed across ranges. In Dexalot, market makers define how much liquidity they put into what price level all the time, and they do it continuously. And they can do this in the Dexalot subnet because of the efficiency, because of the fees, because of the ability to actually allow them to do in a centralized exchange style order book. Now, let's talk about differentiation and how does this compare to the traditional finance world? Traditional finance obviously only uses CLOBs, other than I pick up the phone, you're my friend, we do a trade among ourselves, but general trading and real liquidity resides all on central limit order book exchanges. How does our solution differ, and particularly in the case of SimpleSwap, from the TradFi world?
Yeah, go ahead, Nihat.
No, James, go ahead. You started. Go ahead.
So I guess it is different, but it is similar. So there is a flow that is called riskless principle in the Wall Street world. So it is closest to the riskless principle flow that we implemented. I'm not going to get into the boring details of riskless principle, but basically that's what we brought in. So there is a client order that we are handling on behalf of, in short, there is a client order, which is you guys, and you're entering an order, and on behalf of you, we're taking all the bells and whistles of executing it in one way or another fashion in the subnet and provide you that price that the subnet shows. So in the traditional finance, obviously, it is, like I said, it is not the same, but it is like, I don't think there's anybody doing it in traditional finance in this fashion.
I fully agree. In fact, I don't think there even exists. So traditional finance is market orders, right? But to access the market orders, you have to be on the exchange. And in reality, retail users can't be on the exchange. They go through brokers. And then brokers may do a lot of things from the time you press market till the time your order actually hits the exchange, right? There's been a lot of conversation about brokers selling your flow to the likes of Citadel and whatnot. And the number one differentiator here is, yes, even though we are a central limit order book style exchange, it's completely transparent, right? You trade, you see a price, and that price settles instantaneously on chain in one transaction. There is no, opacity to this flow, and you're actually getting the liquidity ultimately that is in the subnet. I think that is a huge differentiator, and I think that's going to make a lot of people like this over, let's talk big centralized exchange names, right? There's a lot of names out there nowadays where people are talking about where is the liquidity, are the assets backed, are we trading real things? Dexalot is never going to have this problem. Knock on wood, of course.
Yeah.
I can even add one more level to the transparency, right? So currently, you can take the swap page from our application as a reference implementation, actually. So there is no barrier for somebody else to create their own swap interface and connect it to Dexalot's order book, actually, in Avalanche, right? So it is that transparent. It is, I think it gives a lot of power to very different level of users and traders. Someone who has a trading background and wants to create this kind of application, there is definitely a path to that.
Now, literally, if we are the best price, how do we get our price out to the DeFi ecosystem as a whole? We obviously launched our own UI at the moment. We launched our own sort of solution. But what's next? What's going to come after?
I'll leave it to you.
Huh?
I will leave it to you.
No. So I think there are two big things, really. I mean, if you look into the future, there are really two big things that we are currently very actively working on. And I'll drop one of them and I'll ask Cengiz to drop the other one. I think one of them is really very obvious, right? So we have the swap interface now. It's just natural to expect for that swap interface to provide the great prices to aggregators as well, right? So it's just a natural progression. So we have actively working on that one. It's really in the review stage of the aggregator for that one. And what else, Cengiz? I think the next one touches a little bit more the architecture side. That's what I want.
Just think of it, guys. What's keeping us to take this contract that is on C chain and put it in somewhere else, and put it in somewhere else, and put it in somewhere else, and somewhere else, and they all come to the subnet at the end of the day. So that's our that has been our multi-chain vision from the start, from summer of last year. Actually, the vision was already built in that way, but we actually found a shortcut thanks to Firestorm that actually start with a simpler version of like this contract only to be deployed without all the bells and whistles of a full multi-chain, and test out some of the flows and our prices or our competitiveness in different chains. So that will be the next step that can come pretty quickly, because like I said, without having to, we don't have to build the entire bridging, like, you know, this crediting system that we talked about that is currently with the other chains yet. We don't have to. We can just do a version of this and be semi-multi-chain, let's call it. So that will be the next big thing.
I got to drop you guys an alpha horn for that.
Think of it this way, right? Central limit order book. You have a liquidity-specific, application-specific blockchain where the best prices and the best liquidity is available. And we already know the future is multi-chain, right? Avalab's team says this. Ethereum team says this. Arbitrum team says this. Everybody says this. We already know this. Therefore, why not make this liquidity that is specific to trading, and that is on an application-specific chain, why not make that available to every ecosystem out there, right? We all know that, you know, most of crypto right now is more maxi-like, and why don't we let maxis be maxis in their own ecosystem and just give them the best price, and if they want to trade, you know, wherever they want to trade, so be it, right? This essentially, you know, helps Dexalot in a number of ways. One, if our liquidity is accessible from everywhere, and if we have the best price and we're integrated into the aggregators that people use, we capture market share, guys. If I can see that our prices are already capturing, I'm going to be conservative, more than 50%, you know, it's only been 2 hours, so I don't want to go to a report. But if we are already winning 50% of the time in terms of being the best price at sizes that cover 95% of all trades that are happening in DeFi, that implies we'll capture the volume. With more volume, we'll have more competition. More market makers are gonna want to come to Dexalot. And then, of course, if we have the distribution, more users are going to use us. It's almost like we're literally at the cusp of that self-feeding economical system that, the first phase just launched. SimpleSwap is the first phase. Aggregator integrations, which Nihat mentioned, is already in progress. I think we dropped this alpha a couple of weeks ago, and one of our community members found our PR like that's open and saying, he actually sent me a message saying, this PR is open for a little while. What's happening here? And yes, we do have external dependencies when it comes to the aggregators. And I say hi to all our aggregator friends out here. We just launched, guys. Go ahead and merge the stuff. And then, of course, comes the multi-chain, right? At a high level, this was the vision. And, super excited today that the first step, finally launched. And stay tuned. Are there any questions from the community, by the way? I know we've been
chat. Chat. While we've got the co-founders here, if you guys have any questions for them, please feel free, because this is kind of a rare occurrence to have our co-founders here to answer questions for the chat.
Technical questions are also welcome.
Yeah. Crypto Kindergarten, what do you got? I know you got something.
While people wait for questions, we should probably touch on Simple View as well.
Yes.
Obviously, the swap and the trading capability it takes the lion's share, but we also launched something called Simple View. Can you guys talk about that a little bit as well?
Yeah, actually, I totally forgot about that. With the excitement of the SimpleSwap, thanks for bringing that one. Because it's a very complementary feature to SimpleSwap. So we defined a user group for SimpleSwap, and it is addressing a need in that group, right? So if that's the case, then we want that group to access key account information related every part of the application in one place without ever leaving the SimpleSwap page, right? So it came from that idea. And if you just click on the wallet button on the right top hand, now you will see a menu opening up, and it gives you a view of the recent transactions, your balances, and rewards that you are able to claim, as well as settings page. So all in one place, available globally for all the applications, not just for SimpleSwap. So it's gonna simplify things for all the traders, but we thought it would be really a complementary feature for SimpleSwap itself. It started from there.
Amazing. I wanted to just kind of highlight something Tim just said in the chat here. Simpler is sometimes better. And
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and I just wanted to agree with that really quick because, guys, I mean, the whole thing we're doing over here at Dexalot and chat, you guys know this, but we're building for users. We're building to make the user experience as easy and fluid as possible for you guys. And SimpleSwap and Simple View are just the next step in that ladder. You know what I mean? So it's great to see in real time. And like Firestorm said a little earlier, we've been watching the numbers. If you've got data that can prove him wrong, bring it to him because he's ready for you. He's ready for a data battle. But yeah, I mean, it's all about the user experience over here, guys. It's the same. It's in essence bringing you the same thing we're trying to do with giving you the look and feel of a centralized exchange, but with the transparency and security and speed of our subnet, right?
Gentlemen, I'm going to ask a tougher question, and I'm going to answer this myself because I have my own opinions. But for each of you, what was the most difficult aspect on getting this feature out? And like anything is game, what do you think was the most challenging piece that we had to tackle and solve? Without going into too much secret sauce, obviously. I know you have a lot of secret sauce. Give only the stuff that you're comfortable with.
I mean, I guess for me there is, without giving too much, but there is always a little bit of risk that has to be managed between the mainnet and the subnet, and that's the piece that has been on my mind most of the time, and we paid quite a lot of energy. We spent a lot of energy to do this right, to make sure that we were not taking too much risk to bring this flow to life. For me, that was the main thing.
Okay. Nihat,
Managing the risk between the C chain and the
Of course. And this is one of the reasons as to why we're very careful with our launches, right? The launch, if you go and look, you know, the pricing is extremely competitive up to a certain amount. Beyond that certain amount, it winds out, and we're basically making sure everything is good to go until we open it up for the full capability. What about you, Nihat? What do you think was from your perspective, what sort of made you, what was most challenging to you?
I think, Cengiz was really heavy into the code and did all the nitty-gritty details, right? I mean, in the end, coding, architecture, all full 9 yards. Obviously, he had the dev team behind him, but he architectured the whole thing, right? So, but on the other things, I was more interested in the user experience itself, right? So because in the end, what we were aiming was to provide a truly simple interface for a certain group of users. And once you have the full exchange available in your mind and it's working great, it's difficult to declutter and kind of pare it down to bare minimum and to make it as simple as but not simpler than necessary, right? So to get that balance, I thought it would be very simple, right? So just take all the crap out and it will be. But it took us a couple of iterations from myself, Tim, you guys, as well as the front-end team, right? So it's Veysel and Andy specifically. And that was not as simple as I thought it would be, quite frankly.
So from my perspective, there are two things that make these types of deliveries extremely difficult, right? Number one, and this is true at my previous job, this is true at any build, if you have an external dependency, you lose a big part of the control, right? Our sort of solution came together a little while ago, and providing that to an external team who has competing priorities and sort of trying to align with their process is a nightmare most of the time. Particularly the partners that we're sort of working with, that we're chasing, they're being chased by a million other people. Therefore, getting timelines right in that regard is extremely difficult. That's number one. And, you just got to do the best you can and, move forward. The second thing I'm going to say, and we had the Covalent team a couple episodes back. The second thing is, for a very transparent environment as Web3, getting the pricing data and, doing the necessary work to actually do the analysis is not easy. I thought it would be a lot easier than, how we ended up. And we actually had to spend a lot of our cycles from our engineering team to get everything in place so that we know that this mechanism is going to work. We have robust pricing of our own and then comparison capability, right? But we've gotten there. And that's what sort of pushed us to feel good about it. Even though there are dependencies, why not give the best possible thing to our users who are loyal, who are coming to our site, and then the rest of the distribution will just follow. So those were the two things that, I think made my life a little bit difficult.
Yeah. Management has always been a big issue.
It's always a dependency.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why, we don't depend on anyone in our infrastructure, in our code. We don't use third-party software. We don't, you will find very seldom things that we use from the outside providers, unless they are things like Jira or GitHub.
Sure, of course.
Things that are like tools, but otherwise, all of our code is ours. We don't depend any provider to run our operations, day-to-day operations. But an aggregator obviously it's a third party that we have to depend on. So unless we have to have it, we never introduced any third party in anywhere in our infrastructure or code. So I'm proud of that, because I've been I've dealt with it all my life. So I was always pushing all these dependent people trying to get into the company, saying, hey, let me build this for you. I'm like, no, sorry. I won't let you build anything on my behalf, because then I have to depend on you. Something goes wrong, I don't know what to do. So I fully agree with you basically on that one.
We have one question, by the way. So Crypto Kindergarten asks, when you go multi-chain, do you foresee confirmation times creating challenges for SimpleSwap integrations? And then there's a second message saying, locking a trade on your end at a price while we wait for finality on the other. Now, this is something that we're going to have to experiment with, quite honestly, as we go to other blockchains. But if you think about where you expect our audience, i.e. our end users, to trade the most, it's going to be on chains where things are cheap and quick, right? I know that there's a tremendous amount of activity on Ethereum, and Ethereum confirmation times are significantly different than something like Avalanche or Arbitrum and whatnot. But quite honestly, this is something we're going to see, and pricing will reflect all of these aspects in there, right? If fees are significantly more expensive, then the pricing from the market makers as well as the product itself will reflect all of that stuff, so that that amount of unknown is factored into the premium that people pay. So, like, think of it this way. If you want to trade on a blockchain that settles in 1 hour, you're going to have to ride market risk for 1 hour. And there is a premium for riding that for 1 hour, which will be reflected by the people who provide the price ultimately. You know, this is how every single market making operation works. Therefore, we expect our market makers to sort of behave the same, right? So I think there will definitely be challenges, but I don't think the challenges are going to be the things that you can think of them now, because in these types of novel applications, you know, you expect complicated things to come and hit you. Instead, you'll find small things that are simple that you didn't think about, right? So it's sort of, you know, pushing things forward, and we'll see. And I'm sure we have like the capability to deal with every single one of these issues.
Definitely, man. Great question. Great question from our guy, Crypto Kindergarten, who said he was driving. So I hope you didn't. I hope you weren't texting and driving, sir. You got to be careful out here. All right.
No driving and trading. Just pull over and then do your trades. Okay.
I know you're excited about SimpleSwap, but no driving and trading yet. Okay. But I want to go back real quick to something Cengiz just said regarding the aggregators and you know, having anyone build on what the Dexalot co-founders have created. Citizen3, our guy, said Dexalot is made up of honest engineers. They keep their promises, just like the team behind Avalanche. I love Dexalot, and we're trying to do everything we can to help it succeed. We appreciate you, Citizen3. Thanks for that. And
thanks very much. We love you back, man.
Yeah, we got a team of honest folks here, and honestly, that's what drew me to this team to begin with. So I would wholeheartedly agree. And then Crypto Kindergarten says, I'll say it again, SimpleSwap is a brilliant solution.
Crypto Kindergarten.
Thank you, sir.
Crypto Kindergarten made me think about something very important. We received this question in the past, and it wasn't so easy to answer because we were so unique and novel and essentially custom. But composability, I think, Nihat, you touched on this a little bit earlier. How does SimpleSwap allow composability for Dexalot? You know, I have my own answer, but let's hear it from you guys.
That composability actually, to a very big extent, is built on the foundation that Cengiz created, actually, right? So that mingling of assets, not creating assets on the subnet. Eventually, once you start from that foundation, it makes things a little bit easier on the front end or on the higher end side, right? So things. So Cengiz, you want to maybe touch on that innovation a little bit, because I think it's really the key differentiator for Dexalot itself.
So yeah, if anybody who bridged any tokens, you had to deal with ERC20s having different naming conventions in different chains, and which contract is like, you have to make sure that you get the right assets in the target chain, for example. You have to know the contract is correct. You have to trust the bridge, and you have to make sure that the bridge is not hacked, this, that, all kinds of things, right? So, and you have to pay, on top of it, you have to pay potentially high bridge fee. So those are all the things that was very annoying, on top of like having a CLOB-like interface and frictions that people who wanted to really trade in a simple way, pushing them into an environment where they have to bridge things and worry about all these problems was going to add additional friction. So we started thinking like, what if we didn't bridge it, but we actually credit it, because we own the subnet, so we don't have to abide by general level 1 rules. We can say, hey, we know what's in the mainnet, we just reflect it on the subnet. So that was the idea behind this whole. And when you do that, you can apply to the multiple chains, and you can say you can bring USDC from Avalanche, you can bring USDC from Arbitrum the same way, and they can trade as one in the subnet, and then you can withdraw them back to wherever you want, whichever chain you want. So from that perspective, it is very novel. There's always an inventory problem that you're going to have to deal with eventually, but it is very novel in that sense. And you have the assurance in your mind that the money, actual tokens, are locked in the level 1 mainnet, like whether it's C-Chain or Arbitrum or Ethereum. And we have the ABS to always take the snapshot and show that even if our subnet somehow blew up, which is, a catastrophic event, then there is a snapshot within, I believe snapshots are taken every 10 minutes, just in case there's a catastrophic event, which is like, you settle instantly, obviously, in the subnet. But yeah, I don't know if that answered your question.
Definitely answers. And there's two things, right? Having this novel technology and architecture created a requirement that any partner or any other project that wanted to build on top of Dexalot to understand the Dexalot technology and to create something custom, right? It's possible. We're very open. Our market makers have done it this way. We've even open sourced a market making bot if community wants to do it, and I know community folks have picked that up. But it also created a challenge for a lot of projects, right? SimpleSwap gives people a route to build on top of exactly the same way they would build something on top of an AMM, right? In terms of incorporating prices of assets that's listed on Dexalot or listed on SimpleSwap, you're going to have an interface that is going to look exactly like an AMM interface, and you're going to only need to generate one transaction to trigger a trade. So in that sense, I think this opens up a lot of possibilities. Obviously, aggregators is one, but if you're a lending protocol, for example, that wants to allow native swaps within their platform because you don't want people leaving your platform, Dexalot just became an option that is better in terms of pricing than the alternatives, right? Delta Prime is a very successful platform, for example, in Avalanche, and they already use a couple of aggregators, but now theoretically they could add Dexalot to the mix and use native Dexalot pricing just like they would use an AMM. So in terms of composability, I think this feature also unlocks a lot of projects to use Dexalot liquidity under the covers, especially if they list with us. So I just wanted to highlight that as well.
Okay, so that's where you wanted to go. Okay.
No, but you answered it, right? Essentially, the subnet solution, we had to sort of make some trade-offs, right? Not having ERC20s to deal with the inventory problem. I think it works for anybody that wants to use it. It just creates the can they build it question, right? And I think SimpleSwap also solves that. You know?
I think your both answers are great, right? So I just wanted to make sure that some of the architectural decisions we made and Cengiz made, implemented, and everything is the foundation that allows to build and create all of that, right? So it's not something we came up with later. It's not an afterthought, right? So everything was built from the ground up to deliver this kind of a feature, basically, right? So just kind of wanted to highlight that, actually.
Sounds great.
Awesome. Well,
yeah, definitely we're not making it up as we go along. We're like, we planned this long time ago, how things are going to work. And with the vision in mind, three years down the line, and we're building accordingly. So we don't have to go back, fix it, and implement. No, we are actually building in a way that is going to be applicable for the vision in the three years down the line. So
sure.
Definitely important.
It looks like we do have one more question from the chat from a first-time viewer, Zero Quark. What up, Zero Quark? Where do you keep the ABS off-chain? If so, do you have plans to submit it to the C-chain as on-chain proof?
So it's the key components are kept on C-chain already, right? So it's a Merkle tree basically, and we keep the root of the Merkle tree, which is making the Merkle tree itself immutable, right? So we keep the root of that tree on C-chain, but the tree itself is kept off-chain because of the size. I mean, storage is the most expensive thing on an EVM, right? So there is no point to keep it on-chain if it's immutable already.
Gotcha.
Does that answer your question?
But our ABS data is actually on IPFS, right? Like the snapshots are stored on IPFS.
True.
Yes. Yeah, just to put that out there as well.
Great. Thanks for the question, Zero Quark. Well, we've had, I think, almost a full hour of architecture and SimpleSwap discussion. This is crazy. If you guys are just joining us, make sure you watch the replay after we're done here, because you're going to get a lot of information.
Guys, put a W in the chat if you want the founders to be back. We're not going to ask them. We're gonna try to drag them again, but you guys have to tell us that you want it.
W's in the chat for the founders right now.
Let's go.
Let's see some dubs. You need to watch. Yeah, Brad is definitely going to watch this again. We know Brad's going to watch this again.
Thank you, guys, for the vote of confidence.
Thanks very much.
Hey,
Appreciate the discussion.
The community sees the work, guys. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm in the tweets every day. I'm over here on all the socials, and it's like everybody sees it, man. So yeah, thank you for just dropping more features on us, and helping continue this Dexalot journey. It's on the up and up. So we hope you guys will stay tuned for what else is coming, because we got some more stuff for you, chat. But I just want to say huge thanks to our co-founders, Nihat and Cengiz, for joining us today. Guys, thank you so much. We are going to have you back. The chat has made the decision for you. You don't have an option here, so very sorry to tell you that.
Gladly.
You guys know what it is, though. I got to get a song request from you before you leave. I already planted the seed for Nihat. He's been thinking about it, I know. So if you guys got anything for me, I'll throw it out.
I didn't think about mine. I gotta think of something. I'll give it to you.
Yeah, you can message me. But if you guys got any, no pressure. You know what I mean?
I have mine. I'm prepared.
What we got?
I want Dire Straits, Sultans of Swing.
Dire Straits. What? Which one?
Sultans of Swing.
Nothing but swing. All right. I can definitely do some Dire Straits. Let's see if I can do like a remix or something like that. I'll try to, or maybe we'll just play the classic. We'll just play the classic. A lot of dubs for that request. Wow, great pick. Yes, indeed, sir. All right, awesome. Well, guys, this has been great. We thank you again for joining us. Guys, our co-founders of Dexalot, Nihat and Cengiz. More dubs in the chat if you guys wouldn't mind. And we will have you back very soon, gentlemen. Please keep dropping features on us. The chat loves it. The users love it. And we love it. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thanks very
Let's
much.
go.
Salute, gentlemen. See you next time.